Hello and welcome to this Riverbed video on AppResponse. My name is Ishan Kapoor and I'm a consultant with Riverbed. In this video, I will be taking you through the steps on how to effectively use the HD views inside AppResponse. HD views inside AppResponse are a star feature of the platform. These features give the user ability to track every single packet and every single conversation, as well as every single TCP turn that the appliance sees on the wire. This kind of direct, in-depth view of packets is excellent when it comes to certain troubleshooting workflows. So let's get straight to it. What are these HD views and where can you see them in the AppResponse web interface? If you notice, any insight or navigator that have the HD at the end are the features, are the views where you find these highly detailed packet records and transaction records preserved by AppResponse. So whether you're looking at an insight or navigator, anytime you notice HD, it means you're looking at every single packet that the appliance is looking at. So we're going to start the example by looking at something that's perhaps very common in all organizations, in all troubleshooting workflows, which is looking at either IP conversations or TCP conversations. And those are actually where some of the abilities really are appreciable and come to light in HD view. So we're going to start by looking at some IP conversations under transactions, under insights. Okay, so once the IP conversation HD insight is fully loaded, what you'll notice is that we have somewhat less than recent or 24-hour time window being displayed here. We have a graph for throughput, and you can change whichever metric you'd like to look at. You have a summary here at the top of all the packets, all the IP conversations that were seen by the appliance in that time window, regardless of how small the throughput was or how few packets were exchanged in that conversation. Everything gets included. And there's an individual list of the IP conversations showing up at the bottom. The first thing to point out is you can use this inputs widget to actually search throughout the conversations list or the conversations record that we have. And here's where the power of HD comes in, is that every single conversation can be found using any of these search criterias. That's the first thing to keep in mind, is you can search through this entire time range for even the most minimal conversation that happened. The other thing to keep in mind is that essentially um, for allowing the data to be presented in a nice way, we have a topping that is being done now. But the default top might be very less. So you're essentially topping the conversations by traffic, and the topping is performed in a top 10. But this number can go very high. And the first thing you should do after looking for conversations, rather the second thing you should do is look and increase the top to as high a number as is taken by the appliance, and as high a number as you need. So right now I've chosen 40,000, and we'll see it will start to actually produce, the list of conversations will then be increased to whatever number you've specified. And that might be something that's really crucial, that's really important if you're just looking without specifying anything. But if you're searching for a conversation, obviously that conversation will show up. There's no need to put any topping criteria. But if you don't have anything in there, there may be millions and billions of data points. So you can see now the number of the number of table elements has increased in that same time range. And that is the evidence that there was far more conversations happening than were displayed in this table, and you can keep increasing it until you get to the right number. And again, the reason why topping is provided is so that you don't inundate the web UI and your browser with millions and millions of data points. Still, if something isn't showing up here in this table, you can always search for it by the inputs widget, and you'll always find it. All right, so I just demonstrated how you can look through IP conversations in HD and some of the subtleties of what the table was showing and why we performed a little bit of topping there. Uh, let's take an example of a another feature, which is voice and video calls, HD, which is very similar. We have the inputs widget here. You can search for the the individual calls, the video and voice calls that were being seen by the appliance. We have a similar topping being performed here. So you can actually search again. So the first thing, you can search for any phone call that happened in that time duration, and the search results will show up. Uh, but when you don't really search for anything and you're just looking at the true plot and the calls themselves, keep in mind that there is a topping happening here as well. So it's only showing you the first 1,000 calls. And again, I can change it to 40,000 calls, and we'll let the chart update. And same thing over here in the table below, we can do change top by, and let's see if we can perform the same increase in the top calls. And what you should see, so in the previous case, we didn't have to change the topping for the true plot, but in the voice and video calls, you do have to change the topping for the true plot. And generally, it's the best idea to keep the topping everywhere the same. So you can see now the richness of the true plot has considerably increased, and we have way more calls now being presented. So you definitely have to keep increasing the topping, and similar to that, there's a top here as well. The topping here may be limited to a slightly lower number. That's because we don't expect the call channels in voice to be to be hundreds of thousands. Typically, a single call can have less, somewhere less than 20. So I believe the limit here is 20 as well. So we'll just set to 20. But the most important panels that will help you in your troubleshooting are the true plot panel as well as the individual calls. And in both cases, make sure you specify the top n or change top by to a relatively high number, and or as high number as the setup, the appliance can handle. And try and keep revising your time range and making sure that you're seeing exactly the calls that you want to see. Again, the search will work beautifully. Whatever you put in, if the packet was seen in that time duration, we will and if the appliance did not roll over, which means the storage was sufficient, we will show you that call. Um, However, keep in mind that you have to adjust the top end. If you're not searching for a call, if you're just landing here in the inside and you are browsing and looking to get answers directly. All right, so one more example we will examine here is the feature in AppResponse for database queries, for examining slow database queries. And this also is HD, very similar to the IP conversations and to the voice calls. When you're looking at the data just out of the box, it will you'll be allowed to search through the queries using all these criterias, and in fact, if a packet was seen in that time duration, no matter what the size of the packet or the size of the query, it will be searchable. You will be able to find it. However, if you're not searching, if you're just examining the true plot as well as the other panels, do keep in mind as there is some topping being performed out of the box. And right now we're only showing the top 10, but you can increase it to the highest supported number. So in most cases, AppResponse will tell you automatically what the highest supported number is. But if it's not, that means we support much higher, and you can keep increasing the top to get more detailed view in TruePlot to get a visual of exactly how many transactions. As you can see, I just increased it from 10 to 20, and it's starting to give me more SQL statements. And same thing over here is let's change the top by to something much higher. So it's 5,000 at the moment. Let's see if we can get it to 40K. And I'm just choosing 40K um, because I know that for some of the insights that is the known maximum, but there are some insights which can handle much higher, and that's actually the one of the benefits of having HD is the topping number is much higher. So you can you can, without having to search for anything, you can get a visual of what the underlying packets would look like in a chart, in a true plot diagram. And let's see when this thing reloads what the diagram looks like as compared to before. Okay, so this is now with the 40K data points for the exact same time range, and as you can see that towards the bottom of the chart, there are a lot more clusters of queries that had lower transaction time, and you can see them much better now than with the previous topping. So this is a great example of what increasing the fidelity by increasing the top can get you. So hopefully this serves as a very good example of why it's important to examine that top end criteria in all of the HD insights as you're working with. All right, those were some examples of HD insights, and you can apply those examples to almost all HD insights and views that you come across in AppResponse. The key takeaways that I'd like to reiterate are number one, in most of these insights, you'll see an input widget for searching. When searching for IPs and criteria and specifying criterias, you will find all the packets that are in the appliance for that time range. There's no topping that you have to worry about. However, if you are not looking for a particular packet, if you're just looking for all data points to help you not get inundated, to help the browser and the web UI not get inundated, there is a topping being done in the presentation. So the true plot as well as the individual calls or individual transactions that you see, they will have a topping criteria that I talked about in this message, and you be sure to check those for every panel that you're working on in these HD views. So thank you for watching this video, and hopefully see you in the next Riverbed video. Bye bye.